Scarred in battle against a favoured servant of Nagash, before smashing the revenant apart with his bare hands in a frenzy of revenge, Sigvald was finally laid low by a brutish king amongst Troggoths. Yet one so steeped evil cannot be banished so easily. As the mortal realms coalesced, flickers of Sigvald's corrupt soul lingered in the void. He had been discarded by the Prince of Pleasure. Slaanesh is an immensely vain god, and to be associated with one who had met such a degrading end would never do. But what one god abandoned, another sought out. Nagash does not forget, and he assuredly does not forgive. Like some monstrous jackal, he prowled the void, seeking the soul that had offended him so in ages past by destroying his champion. Perhaps Nagash could have snuffed him out there and then, but the undying king has always favoured lingering punishments. So was Sigvald trapped within a mirror of soul-snatching shade-glass. Worse still for the vain Geld Prince. Those who gazed upon this mirror would see a most idealized reflection of themselves rather than bear witness to Sigvald's own majesty. As a final insult, the magnificent mirror was then forgotten amongst the city of Shadespire, soon banished into the depths of Ulgish. Nagash's spite, in this case, proved Sigvald's salvation. Within Ulgish could also be found the jail in which the elven pantheon had imprisoned their ancient nemesis. As more of Slaanesh's paradoxical chains were shattered, motes of the god's essence came to rest in the mirrored city of Shadespire. Screaming in desire, Sigvald's soul suckled at this decadent ambrosia, slowly regaining a measure of self-awareness. First to discover the magnificent mirror was a Caradron expedition from Barak Zilfin. Drawn by avarice to Shadespire, they were overwhelmed by reflections of themselves as famed and wealthy admirals, all from the recovery of this wondrous treasure. Escaping into the deserts of Penultima, one of Shaish's many underworlds, the Duardins' obsession with their prize left them blind to their own basic needs. Yet even as they succumbed to thirst, opportunity presented itself. The god-seekers known as the Scarlet Cavalcade were next to discover the mirror. By this point, Sigvald had regained enough of his power to have some influence over his prison. When the cavalcade's leader, the silver-haired Rashivius, gazed into its depths, he was confronted by the most twisted and grotesque reflection of himself the Geld Prince could conjure. Enraged beyond measure, the champion unspooled his whip, lashing out towards the cur that had offended him so. Rashivius perhaps expected such to see the mirror's magic shattered forever. Yet the circumstances leading to this act, a strike born of rampant egotism, a soul glutted on deific energies, and a realm whose magical laws had been thrown into disarray by the arrogance of the great necromancer, conspired to produce a very different outcome. Within Ulgish, Slaanesh looked upon his former favoured son's cunning and rise from an ignoble end, surely a portent of the Dark Prince's own inevitable escape, and found his interest in Sigvald reignited. Rather than be annihilated, therefore, the Geld Prince was reborn fully formed. In him was manifested the dark resplendence of the god of excess, his limbs clean and strong, and from his head curled regal horns that crackled with sinful energy. As the Scarlet Cavalcade looked upon him, a worshipful wail arose from their ranks, even Rashivius dropping to his knees in supplication. Sigvald's first act was to slay 1 in 6 of the Scarlet Cavalcade, revelling in the godly strength that now thrummed in his limbs. Even then the god-seekers followed him, aiding the Prince of Slaanesh in satiating his lust for vengeance on the Troggoth race. Yet Sigvald desired for his name to be howled in praise across these strange new realms. For this he would require a suitably magnificent weapon. The Geld Prince's original blade was known as Sliverslash, said to be forged from a fragment of Slaanesh's own sword, but now many would-be pretenders claimed to also possess such a weapon. Sigvald would never lower himself to simply matching these oafish rivals. Instead, he quested to the Palace of Pleasure, bestriding its marble halls and battling through the unnatural flesh things that now stalked the abandoned corridors to reach the Dark Prince's armory. There he bargained with the daemon artisan Gilfalai, offering up a measure of his own wicked soul in the form of 6 locks of golden hair to reforge the shattered fragments of his former prison. Thus was Shardslash created, an elegant rapier that mirrored Sigvald's lost weapon and could steal away a soul with but the lightest of scratches, entrapping it for the Geld Prince to torment at his leisure. With such a blade now in his possession, his war on the realms could begin in earnest.